What is Ayurveda? The word Ayurveda is Sanskrit, and it may be translated as knowledge of life or knowledge of longevity. It's an ancient health system that originated in India, and it views the body holistically as inseparable from the mind and inseparable from the soul. It also views the organs holistically. So your liver is related to your thyroid, and the health of your thyroid depends on your liver. It's hard to know exactly when Ayurveda arose. Some references say about 5,000 years ago, some say about 10,000 years ago. What is known is that it's one of the oldest health systems on the planet, it along with traditional Chinese medicine, and along with like TCM and Ayurveda share some commonalities. The knowledge of Ayurveda was revealed to ancient seers, and these are called rishi, in India, and was passed down orally for centuries until being written down in a number of sacred texts known as the Vedas, of which there are 4: the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sam Veda, and the Atharva Veda. The Vedas cover all aspects of health, including healthcare techniques, spirituality, human behavior, government politics, and they even cover surgeries and astrology. From these 4 Vedic texts, the Ayurvedic medicine texts were written, and 4 major ones of those are still in existence today. So the Sharaka Samhita, the Ashtanga Hridaya, and Ashtanga Sangraha. Those 2 texts in particular emphasize the material value of life and define the workings of the water and the earth elements in life. Those 2 texts were written by an Ayurvedic physician, Vata, around 400 BC. The Sharaka Samhita itself is a major compendium of Ayurvedic medical theory, compiled in Sanskrit around 800 BC, and it's still used for training Ayurvedic physicians today. The last of the 4 texts, the Sushruta Samhita, is a surgical text dating to about 700 BC, and this has information on the Ayurvedic definition of health and on blood, with details about marma points and also about the fire and water elements of the body. It was written by Sushruta, and it even describes skin grafting and reconstructive surgery. This is insane. A text written around 700 BC that describes this. It's astounding. There are also some minor texts when it comes to Ayurveda as well. So before 2000 BC, Ayurveda was categorized into 2 schools. One focused on internal medicine, and then the second focused on surgery. How does Ayurveda differ from Western medicine? Rather than focus on a disease or pathology, Ayurveda assumes that for true health, a being must be in balance energetically, and how does Ayurveda differ from Western medicine? Rather than focus on a disease or pathology, Ayurveda assumes that for true health, a being must be in balance energetically, and Ayurveda seeks the root cause of the disease in order to remove the imbalance from a person's life so that health can be restored. And Ayurveda really views health as being in a state of balance. In Ayurveda, there are 3 causes of disease, and hang with me here, because at face value, you might be tempted to dismiss them. So the first cause of disease is disrespecting your senses. The second cause is making choices from a place of ego. And the third is living in disharmony with the rhythms of nature. So let's break each one of these down. What does it mean to disrespect your senses? When smell, sight, taste, touch, and sound are overstimulated, this harms your body and your mind. both of which require moderation and balance for healthy function. Ayurveda, being a holistic wellness system, attunes you to the subtler aspects of the world, and we'll talk about that here in more detail in a sec. When you allow your senses to be overstimulated, both the body and the mind become confused. Imagine, let's just walk through a few examples. So imagine, like, after you eat something really spicy, how well are you able to taste for the next 8 to 12 hours? Your taste buds become damaged by the overstimulation. Now imagine going to a concert, like a music concert. Just think about how long the ringing in your ears lasts after attending a concert. The same is true for your sense of smell. Like if you're like me and have ever been in a candle shop and walking around smelling all the fragrances, at some point, like you just can't smell anymore, and you need those coffee beans or something to kind of revitalize and re-wake up the sense of smell, because you can't smell anything anymore. And that's because the sense has been overstimulated. And then your sense of touch. When you receive stimulation that is too strong, it's perceived as pain. So touching a hot stove or stubbing your toe. And I mean, these are like, in this case, this is a good thing, because this lets us know that, we shouldn't keep doing whatever we're doing. It's also how the sense of touch can be overstimulated. An example of how the sense of touch can be overstimulated. Our 5 senses originally provided keen awareness of our surroundings. And in today's world of overstimulation, it's easy to overstimulate any one of your senses. Going deeper, each one of the senses is associated with a different element. So space and ether is the element that's associated with hearing. Space and ether, those are synonymous. Air and wind, and again, those are synonymous, is the element that's associated with touch. Fire is the element associated with sight, and water is the element associated with taste. Lastly, earth is the element associated with smell. According to Ayurveda, those 5 elements, space, air, fire, water, and earth, compose all things in nature, from the seasons to your body. And keeping those 5 elements in proper balance within your body is the key to wellness. So if we were to revisit this idea of disrespecting your senses once more, you might think of it as a way to allow too much of some elements into your body. And in Ayurveda, everything that enters your body, whether that's through your mouth, through your eyes, or through any of your other sense organs, has to be processed and digested. We'll circle back around to digestion after we cover the other 2 causes of disease. So another cause of disease, or the second cause of disease in Ayurveda, is making choices from a place of ego. When's the last time you ate something that you knew would likely cause you pain in the future? Here's an example from my own life. I don't tolerate wine well anymore. And even 2 ounces of wine, so just a third of a glass, is sometimes enough to trigger a hangover for me the next day. I've also noticed certain other foods that trigger symptoms within my body, including some very common foods like tomatoes, which I love. And knowing that sometimes isn't enough to stop me from making a tomato sandwich. For me, it doesn't stop at food choices. Anytime you choose to do something that past experience has taught you not to do, whether this is choosing work over quality time with your loved ones, making poor food choices for your body, choosing to maintain relationships that are detrimental to your mental and emotional wellness, hitting snooze for the 3rd time rather than getting out of bed and meditating or exercising, staying up until 2 a.m. to binge watch Netflix, overextending yourself in your work life or your personal life so that you have no time to care for your basic needs like sleeping, eating, and taking bio breaks. These are all ways that we and I'm going to say we here because even if you don't identify with any of the ones on that list, I'm sure you have some of your own that you can identify with, because hey, we're all human, right? Like we all yeah, we're all in the same boat. And for me, I can identify with all of these at one time or another. So whatever all the things are that we all know better and somehow cannot consistently do better, that's where we put our egos ahead of our health. And the same is true in the opposite direction. For instance, exercising too much or too vigorously is contraindicated in Ayurveda. The Ayurvedic science really focuses heavily on moderation in all things, especially physical things, so to create an environment where you are better able to connect with the spiritual aspect of your being, because that's the subtle aspect. Because Ayurveda seeks health and harmony for both your mind and your body, it helps dramatically improving your connection to the subtle energies within you and also around you. And so this leads us to the third way, the third cause of disease in Ayurveda, and that's living in disharmony with nature. Let's talk for just a second about daily rhythm and how this aligns with your circadian rhythm. Shift work and working the night shift is typically, or is straight up, associated with higher risk for heart attacks, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesity, GI conditions like ulcers and irritable bowel syndrome, increased problems with fertility and pregnancy, and even cancer. In 2007, a subcommittee of the WHO actually stated that shift work is probably carcinogenic. Data shows a correlation between night shift work and a 50% increase in the risk of breast cancer. A 50% increase in the risk of breast cancer. And data suggests there may be a correlation between night shift work and increased risk of colorectal and prostate cancer. In Ayurveda, day and night are divided into 3 times. From 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and also 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. is the heavy time of day. You can think of this as a rooted or grounded times, as you're just waking up in the morning and then also preparing for bed in the evening. It's encouraged to use these times to build habits, as you may be more successful in making those habits stick by performing the activity during that time, because the elements of 6 to 10 are earth and water, and those are stable and strengthening. So one challenge for you is to try exercising during the 6 to 10 window, either in the morning or the evening, and see whether you have more strength and stamina than at your normal time of day, if your normal time of day is outside those windows. Now, one caution here: if you opt for exercise in the evening, wrap it up before 8 p.m. so that you've got time to allow sleep to enter your body before bedtime. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and also 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the efficient, transformative time of day. This is likely when you're most productive at work during the daytime, and the daytime part of this also, it's for your mind's use to get stuff done. Now, since your mind uses that daytime at night between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., that's the body's time to use for repairing itself. Ayurveda strongly encourages being in bed with your eyes closed, more preferably asleep by 10 p.m. From 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. and again from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is the light time of day. And that's the time of day when we probably notice a boost in creativity level. In the morning time is considered the best time for meditation and prayer, especially immediately upon rising before you have any breakfast, because this is a time for your body to be most connected with its highest self. In modern Western terms, let's talk about circadian rhythms. Cortisol peak, because yeah, like this is all well and good, but why is a 5,000-year-old system even still around today? So let's just convert it. Let's take a look at what's going on from a Western medicine perspective here. So cortisol, so speaking of circadian rhythms, cortisol peaks in the morning. Some sources say that it peaks about half an hour after you wake up. Some sources say that it peaks between 6 and 7 a.m. Your basal body temperature takes a nosedive sometime around 10 p.m. in the evening and starts to climb again in the morning, peaking in the mid-afternoon. The tendency to fall asleep and stay asleep occurs during the decreasing phase of your body temperature circadian rhythm. So this is about 10 p.m. to around 4 a.m. Lastly, melatonin levels drop precipitously by about 7 a.m. and they begin picking back up around 8 p.m. They peak sometime between around midnight and 3 a.m. So these ancient seers were definitely onto something. Expanding beyond the rhythm of the day, let's talk about seasonal living. Like your body, plants, animals, stars, and planets, and the times of the day, each season displays a predominant element or set of elements. The elements of summer are fire and water. The elements of fall are air. So again, synonymous with wind and space. This is seen in the changing of the leaves, the crisper air of fall compared with summer. The elements of winter are also that air, wind element and space. And depending on where you live, maybe water and earth, the elements that are associated with heaviness. They likely may be seen during the wintertime. Spring is most commonly associated with those heavier elements of earth and water. This is because spring snows are typically heavier than winter snows. Depending on where you live, the elements of wind and air, or like wind / air, synonymous, and space may make a reappearance during springtime. And both fall and spring are seasons of transition and movement. So the appearance of those lighter elements is expected. So how do you live rhythmically with the seasons? Here, rather than going with the flow, and the flow is necessary for living in tune daily. For seasonal living, it's best to seek balance. So just think about a hot summer day when the thermometer hits 100. Do you want a warm cup of chai or do you want a slice of watermelon? What about that very first crisp, cool fall morning? Are you eating a mango salad or are you ordering soup? For balance in the summertime, it's easy to eat what's in season to counter the balance of the heat of summer. It's cucumber, asparagus, broccoli, cilantro, summer squash, oats, tapioca, mint, watermelon, berries, avocado. In fall and winter, eating warming foods and cooked foods to balance the dry qualities of wind and space. So again, just eating what's in season: pumpkins, carrots, millet, turnips, mustards, winter squash, cranberries, citrus fruits. And in springtime, to counter the heaviness of the winter and early spring seasons, you may find yourself craving sprouts and artichokes, baby spinach, asparagus, arugula, and other spicy greens. In addition to diet, Ayurveda pulls aromatherapy and color therapy to help balance seasonal fluctuations, helping you maintain a state of inner harmony as you live in sync with the seasons. For fall and winter, warm colors like yellow, gold, orange, and deep red are stimulating and heating colors. Serene colors like white and soft shades of blue may also be beneficial for stabilizing the mobile qualities of fall and early winter. In springtime, colors in the red, orange, and gold hues help to balance the heavy qualities of the season. And in summer, shades of green and blue, along with soft pastels, help balance the heat of the season. To give you an idea of warming and grounding essential oils for fall that help to balance its light, mobile nature: rosewood, clove, cardamom, sweet orange, and palo santo are some. So you might recognize several of those as chai, spices. Warming, uplifting, and stimulating oils for late winter and early spring to help balance the heaviness and coldness of the season are cedar, fir, ginger, cypress, eucalyptus, turmeric, and citrus essential oils, including sweet orange and bergamot. In the summertime, cooling, sweet and calming essential oils are mint, vetiver, sandalwood, rose, and chamomile. Why does Ayurveda have such an intense focus on living in tune with nature? Well, it assesses both the seen and the unseen, evaluating the impact of the physical and energetic worlds.